Alrighty, if you watched the last video, you saw that I had started a print. I had to pause the print because I realized two things. One, I had not created an indentation for the magnet within the bottom. And two, when I looked up and tried purchasing magnets that would fit in there, neodymium 45s, it became apparent to me that it was going to be cost prohibitive. So today I've imported the handle into TinkerCAD. We're going to mess with it a little bit. I picked up some hardware pieces. So we're going to go ahead and modify this design so that I can print it and use hardware that is non-magnetized, hopefully leading to fewer issues. The first thing I need to do is take off this top piece. I'm going to take it all the way down to where I printed it, so around this little box there. So that's going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to create a box. I need to make sure the box is large enough. It needs to be tall enough. It doesn't really matter the dimensions right now. And I'm going to click whole because that's going to eliminate parts when I put it together. So I'm going to raise it up. You can kind of see the shadow right about there is perfect because in that shadow, if I zoom in, you kind of see it bisects this plane. Now that I have it in the right place, I'm going to position it correctly. Place it over. If the whole thing is in shadow, when I combine these two pieces, that is going to end up being erased from the actual design. So by selecting both pieces, I've got a solid here, as evidenced by the color, hole here, so when I connect it, it is going to chop off that top piece, and I'm left with this. That little floating piece means that I've messed up a little bit with the placement. Could have been more careful, so I'm going to, yep, there it is. Just place that a little bit better. One more should be enough. And repeat process. Perfect. Now this plane is all completely done. I'm going to take a cylinder because with the hardware that I got is a bolt, a nut, and a couple of washers. So I need to create within this piece a hollowed out hole. I'm going to do that with a whole portion. My dimensions are going to be pretty important here. So let me pause for a second. I'll pull out my caliper. I'll measure the bolts that I purchased and make sure that I have the correct diameter. Everything here is on the millimeter grid plane. Everything here is on the millimeter grid, so my caliper needs to be measuring millimeters. Get the bolt out. Okay, so with any bolt, this is a 6.25, so I'm going to be careful and call it 6.5 just to give it tolerance allowance. So 6.5, oh, 20 is way too large, so 6.5, and let's do 6.5 in this direction as well. Okay. The bolt itself is only a grand total of, let's call this 22 millimeters, 23 millimeters tall. But I'm going to make this go through the entire piece, so the height doesn't actually matter. This time, I'm going to center these two pieces. I'm going to do, instead of doing it mechanically, there's a button up here for alignment. It puts up these little grids. You want the center button on each grid. It kind of shadows you. So this one is going to put them centered that way, this one will put them centered in amongst themselves. And just like that, I should have a hole all the way through the piece. You can kind of see, if it didn't go all the way through, you wouldn't see the circle there. Now, that is just for the actual shaft of the nut itself. If I'm looking at the bolt head, if I look at the bolt head, it is about 11, so I'm going to call it 11.25. So I am going to expand the diameter of the hole to make sure that the head can get all the way through. Click off the alignment, click back in here. I'm going to give it some generous thresholds here. It's 11.25 should do the trick. I want to do that in both directions. I don't want. And just for grins and giggles, because it is off now, I'm going to realign it. Same shape. Boom. And boom. Down from the bottom. Hole. Perfect. The hole going through here is not going to make much of a difference. Now, if I change this to be a hole shape, you can quickly see how that's going to look. If I were to zoom into it, I make an interior of the shape, it will be there completely. Let me combine these two real quick. So now I've got a shaft that goes all the way through. But the problem is that the shaft that goes all the way through is the size of the bolt head, so there's currently nothing for it to rest in. Enter the next piece of the process here. I have got washer. The washer I purchased is 39 millimeters, so I'm going to make a 39 millimeter washer by 175. So 39 by 175. I'm going to create the washer out of this. And the height this time I am going to keep fairly accurate. Nice and flat, yep. So the washer like that. The interior hole diameter with my caliper I'm reading at 7, so I'll do 7.5 just for conservative numbers here. This is going to be the hole. These two pieces combined after alignment. Is a washer. Okay, so this washer is also going to end up being a hole. So this is going to be a little bit of a challenge. We know that it is 1.75 mil thick. We know that the head of the bolt is, what did I say, 11.25 wide. So the head of the bolt will fit into the center of the washer. And we need to do the thickness of this. Let's call it 4.5. Again, the head was 11.25. The shaft itself is, as measured diameter, 6.5. Alright, so looking down through the bottom, technically, we want to create a shaft in the middle that is only this size after the head is aligned. So this is going to be a little tricky to look at. So I'm going to make this a hole just for seeing through it. Right, that makes it a little bit simpler. Ultimately, here's what I want. We need, probably about there, centered. We need the shaft through the hole. This should be almost perfect, yeah. So I'm going to combine these two, and I center them out. Click that top button. Exactly. Okay. So I need to make a plug in the size of the head of the hex, which is what this hole is. But I need to reduce the centerpiece here only to that diameter now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to decouple this. Now that I have them all put together, I'm going to take this piece. I'm going to make it a hole so I can see through it. We're going to recess the height of this piece. Wrong piece. Sounds about right. This is 50, so that's 7 mils. If we put this piece and this piece, that to the end. Now, right now they're at the exact same height. I'm going to go. Let's go down. I'm going to go down by the depth of the bolt head, and that is 4.5, so I can actually adjust that. Okay, so there's a reduction in the size. The head will be on the other side. It should connect directly with the other side of that washer. Now I'm going to connect them all as a singular piece once this is also a hole. Group those together. Make this piece solid again. And we're going to take these two and center them out. If I've done this correctly, and I combine it. We got one more to do. We gotta do this bottom piece. Perfect. Alright, so now when I merge these two pieces, we should have a shaft that does not go all the way through. That gives us the lip, the constructive piece for the washer to be inserted. See the problem? I put my washer too close to the end. So I need to undo that. Undo that, undo the move. I don't want to solve this problem. Okay. We will uncouple these pieces. Take this middle part. These two emerged piece because that did work. Still centered, so let's group these again. Okay, let's try again. I need the washer to be within the interior so that it has any kind of hope of being a structural stability piece. Okay, it is currently within. I know that because I can no longer see the washer. I can prove this by clicking through and making this a hole. Yep, you can kind of see that floating interiorly. I am going to move this a little bit closer to the end. Okay, I think we should just about be there. I'll center these out again. Get rid of this, it's in the way. And now we will sink this to an appropriate height. Looks like a good thickness. And we'll now make this one solid again. Color doesn't matter. And boom. So we have our interior hole. If I look straight down, you see the shaft is a little bit larger. That size there should accommodate the head. And if I look at this as a hollow shape, I've got a pause right there. So I believe this is ready to export. This is handle revised. Join me in the next video.